Tonight, remembering Barbara Bush, First Lady, President's mother, matriarch of one of America's most influential political families. She died earlier tonight, surrounded by loved ones in Texas. And a live look at the White House, the American flag lowered to have staff in memory of Mrs. Bush. The president has ordered flags across the country to remain lowered until sunset on the day of her burial. And just 2 days ago, President George H.W. Bush's office announced the 92-year-old former First Lady would stop receiving medical treatment.
Tonight, they say the former president spent all day today holding the hand of his wife of 73 years up until the moment she died. She was the matriarch of a political dynasty, the wife of the 41st president, the mother of the 43rd president, also the mother of the governor of Florida. But she liked to think of herself as everyone's grandmother.
And speaking of glamour, I want you all to look at me very carefully. Please notice the hair, the makeup, designer clothes.
Her humor and directness were her trademarks, but her legacy is literacy. As First Lady, she launched a campaign to help people learn to read, visiting schools, reading to children.
If more people could read, write, and comprehend, we would be that much closer to solving so many of the problems that plague our nation.
As the wife of a congressman, ambassador, CIA director, vice president, and president, she spent decades in the political spotlight. Her son, George W. Bush, said, "Mom kept us on our toes and kept us laughing to the end. I'm a lucky man that Barbara Bush was my mother. Our family will miss her dearly." And former Governor Jeb Bush said he was privileged to be the son of George Bush and the exceptionally gracious, gregarious, funny, loving, tough, smart, graceful woman who was the force of nature known as Barbara Bush. He had spoken of the force she brought to parenting.
Mom, the nickname one of many nicknames she has was the enforcer. So there were unwritten rules, and if you violated them, she would enforce the rules and do it in a way that was pretty effective. I don't remember my dad doing that.
Mrs. Bush seldom held back her opinions.
I hate the fact that people think compromise is a dirty word. It is not a dirty word.
Barbara Bush grew up outside New York City and was 16 when she met George Herbert Walker Bush during Christmas break. She left college to marry Mr. Bush after he returned home a hero from World War II. They had 6 children, one of whom died from leukemia just before turning 4. At the age of 90, she hit the campaign trail for the last time during Jeb's unsuccessful bid for the GOP presidential nomination. She was not a fan of then-candidate Donald Trump.
He doesn't give many answers to how he would solve problems. He sort of makes faces and says insulting things. I mean, he's said terrible things about women, terrible things about military. I don't understand why people are for him for that reason.
Mrs. Bush had had various health problems in recent years, and Sunday it was announced that she was ending medical treatment and was being kept comfortable. Mrs. Bush will be buried at the George Bush Presidential Library and Museum in College Station, Texas, in a plot next to the daughter she lost. Barbara Bush will be remembered as a gracious First Lady who headed one of the nation's most prominent political families. And President Trump remembering Barbara Bush tonight, saying, quote, "As a wife, mother, grandmother, military spouse, and former First Lady, Mrs. Bush was an advocate of the American family. Amongst her greatest achievements was recognizing the importance of literacy as a fundamental family value that requires nurturing and protection. She will be long remembered for her strong devotion to country and family, both of which she served unflailingly well." And the Clintons writing, quote, "We will never forget the courtesy and kindness she and President Bush showed us, starting when I was governor in 1983. Bill Clinton says, "I'll always treasure my summer visits to Kennebunkport in Maine. Barbara joked that George and I spent so much time together, I had become almost a member of the family, the black sheep that had gone astray." They go on to say, "We know that through them, her remarkable strength, warmth, and wit, and her devotion to our country will live on."